Hi there, Bartholomew Perez, engineer, realtor in California and Florida, author and investor. I have a slightly different format for today. This was prompted by yesterday's question about does my engineering education matter? I am a big fan of the podcast My First Million because they talk about everything entrepreneurship and business related. And I particularly love the fact that they have backgrounds in education. They were either some software engineer or someone that went to a formal school for, uh, to make a living. And so as I was listening this morning, I came across Scott Galloway's words. And what I particularly enjoyed is that they're pitching this as if you have to start all over again and you were in your 20s, what would be advice that you would give to somebody else in order for them to kickstart and go towards making their first million? I love that because it's a different environment from the time that they made their millions. Not necessarily because money is the important side, it's really the creation of wealth. If you are entrepreneurial in nature, then these are the sort of questions that you're going to be interested in. I same way. I'm very much in that sort of swim lane. I am an engineer by trade. My education from bachelor's, master's, and professional education, all in engineering. But I knew when I went into university that engineering might not be the end all be all, where my biggest interest is in business. And at the time, I figured, hey, I'm not really motivated to learn theory on my own. What I can do is go through the engineering education and then figure out business along the way. Today's world, the last 5 years, I've been practicing real estate in California, the last two in Florida, and there's more to come. I have this itch, and the itch is along business and creating wealth. First generation, I have to figure it all out on my own, and I know that there's many others that are on the same journey. Scott Galloway, not much different. He's a professor at NYU, largely known for his entrepreneurship, and he's an author, amongst other things. And I want to see if this whole screen sharing through Zoom actually works out well, because that's what I'm going to base this conversation and dialogue on.
What opportunities or ideas do you see today that either you're tempted to do, or you say, no, I'm out of the game, but if I was 25 again, this is what I would be running at, this is what I would be working on, this is a problem that I think somebody could go solve. What do you see out there today?
So first off, a lot of it is situational, right? Someone with a degree from an elite university who has the ability, whose parents will support them and doesn't have a high burn, or maybe a partner that works. It's just a lot of it's situational. I don't like it. I've never liked this hustle culture where people say, go offer to carry Jeff Bezos bags or have coffee. Because if you're a single mother, that's just not an option for you. So some of it's situational. So I'll go through a few situations. If I'm a young man or woman and I haven't had the opportunity to get credentialed, I don't have a traditional 4-year college degree, much less a college degree from an elite institution. I think there are going to be a lot of businesses, whether it's carpet cleaning or gas stations or, uh, you know, hanging and selling draperies into small furniture companies that are owned by boomers so you can retire. If I'm a credentialed person.
Let me pause here. So the first part is about if you don't have a traditional education, university, then the business route and taking over businesses that are existing from, hey, people are retiring, people are getting older, and they might not necessarily have an heir because maybe their children are not interested or they're in a hurry to sell because of some predicament. Well, that's where you as the entrepreneur can jump in. The area that I'm interested in is this next segment where he talks about if you do have the credentials, you went to a 4-year degree, you got your degree, and now you're out and about. This in particular.
If I have a degree, I'm fortunate enough, I would go to work for a big platform. I think we live in an era where antitrust is no longer in effect. So the big companies, if you were to divide the stock market into deciles, the companies with the largest market cap over the last 30 years have outperformed the bottom nine by a huge factor. So going to work for a big company is vastly underrated. They can abuse their monopoly position. They will have that mole removed. You will get rich slowly working at Google or at McKinsey. So if you're credentialed, you know, we over romanticize entrepreneurship. If you have the ability to get into the greatest wealth creating vehicle in history, and that is a US corporation, do it. But they have security at the front saying you have a degree from an elite college. But if you do, absolutely go to work for a big multinational conglomerate. If you're an entrepreneur, I think that and credentialed and can raise money, I would say that the intersection between AI and
Okay, at that point, he's transitioning over into what he recommends of the industries that be highest value. Having had the 4-year degree, 4-year education, and a master's and a professional continued education, yes, I strongly believe this because as an engineer, your earnings are very strong and you can capitalize based on the involvement, your level of expertise on a certain subject matter. And if you happen to be in one of those industries where you have to have a clearance, you can almost you call a lot of the shots for what you are able to earn. Um, Granted, there is a cap on these sort of things, but as far as a vehicle to get started, as a first generation, I wanted safety. I wanted to have a baseline that I know that I can use that to then, okay, feed into my different interests elsewhere. And that's how I've been able to, okay, I'm interested in real estate. That's really what I want to do. How do I make sure that I have funding and I'm not worried about end of month because the next paycheck has not come in? That's not a problem I wanted to have. What's most important to me is that, yes, I'm in real estate. I want to be able to solve other people's problems around home ownership because housing, not only is it expensive, but it's been scarce and it's very competitive these last couple of years. Granted, today's age, with December 2023, we're in a different environment and going into the new year, having had the Fed announcements of what's going to happen with interest rates and certain programs on depending on what state you're in, things are subject to change. And that is always the case. And the one thing that I think we have good control over is our earning potential and our willingness to earn and take a little bit of risk depending on the type of role that you might be jumping into. And this is going to segue into my next. I love these words because not only one of my favorite artists, J. Cole, but the way the way he uses Fat Joe's saying and verse along his buddy Ebe, I have to have him say it because I strongly believe in what he's saying.
Just raise my price, as Fat Joe would say. Yesterday's price is not today's price. That's it.
That's coming off of an interview with Nardwuar, the famous Nardwuar. I was talking to J. Cole and his buddy Eve came through. But really, I think if you establish yourself in a position that not only you're content with, but there's room for growth in that particular discipline and industry, you, I think, have outdone yourself and you can thank your younger self for sticking through the 4-year credentials and beyond because it's no easy task. First generation, we're at a disadvantage just because we have to figure it all out on our own. Doesn't mean it has to be impossible and doesn't mean that we have to go on the journey on ourselves. It really, we can build entire communities and find our peers that really see what we see. And that way, we're better off altogether. So remember, yesterday's price is not today's price. That's true for how much your earning potential, true for eggs, gas, everything. Yesterday's price is not today's price. So really know your worth. If you're first generation, I challenge you to figure out ways to increase your earning potential. And if you have other interests, how can you subsidize your earning and, figure out how you can make that leap of faith? Nothing is built overnight. And as long as there's a plan in place and you execute accordingly, I think you are unstoppable. So, Bartholomew Perez, engineer, realtor in California and Florida, author and investor, signing off. To be continued.